Hello, hello. Welcome to Life on Love. It is Friday. That means it's a Life on Love kind of day. I am Charles Hall, Reverend Charles Hall, Associate at Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert, and I am so grateful to be with you for another rousing experience of Life on Love. So grateful for you. I think I've been with you since Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving was last Thursday. Yeah, so Friday. I hope everybody's had a good week and that you are living your life on love, keeping it real, keeping it high, keeping it good. As always, as I've grown, maybe not always, accustomed to now, I'm going to share an essay from Ernest Holmes with you, unpack it a little bit, leap into our weekend with an empowered mind. Empowered thoughts, excuse me, a renewed view of our life. So I'm so grateful to have you here. If you're here with me live on Friday, it's just after 10 Pacific time. If you're tuning in later, welcome. So grateful to have you all here as usual. The phone line, the chat line is open. And certainly love your questions, comments, inspirations, ideas, thoughts. Love it when you help make the show, the program. Any insights you have, ideas from what I'll be sharing with you, how it relates to your life, any demonstrations, any place where you see that applying empowered spiritual principle has made a substantive difference in your life. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine this week, and basically he was just saying, pick a target and head in that direction. Pick a target and go for it. If you're hunter, basketball player, whatever it might be, so you have a target. That's what your goal is. That's what your aim is. And that's what you work diligently toward. Whatever it is, finishing a book, painting a painting, et cetera, et cetera. Find a target, a deep desire of your life, for your life, and move boldly and with conviction in that direction. So the essay that I want to share with you today from Ernest Holmes is entitled "Divine Intelligence Directs My Faith and Makes Perfect and Plain the Way Before Me." Now that in and of itself is an empowered idea. Make perfect and plain the way before me. Life is a big mystery, gang. We know that, right? We don't know what's going to happen or exactly the way it's going to happen. Let's say that. But we have an indication of what's going to happen based on how we're thinking about life right now. What's your relationship to life right now? That's a strong indication of what is to come. Are you thinking high thoughts? Are you thinking thoughts of abundance? Thinking thoughts of health, of progress, of contribution, of creativity, new ideas, fresh insights, high thoughts, high ideas? Are you entertaining high ideas? Or, as sometimes we do, we get down into the weeds a little bit. We can allow what's happening out there to affect what's happening in here. And we want to flip that script. We want to turn that on its head. We want to have what's happening in here dictate and direct what's happening out there. And that, my friends, is our mighty work as individuals who know how to apply universal principles to make life better. More compassion, kindness, giving, charity, sharing, boldness, creativity, et cetera, et cetera. These are the ideas we want to entertain, and these can make plain and perfect the way before me. From the Bhagavad Gita, he shares, the person who is happy within, who rejoices within, who is illumined within, that yogi, becoming the eternal, goes to the peace of the eternal. Consistently and constantly, We're challenged to clean house, keep our internal house clean. Consistently and constantly, we are reminded that in order to demonstrate an empowered life, we have to espouse empowered high thoughts within us, ideas, those things, those magnificent things. The hidden wisdom of God is the knowledge that we are one with the divine being. It's the words of Ernest Holmes now. This wisdom, which is hidden from us until we perceive our fundamental unity with reality, is clearly revealed when we seek the eternal in everything. Not the transient, not the temporary, the eternal. Seek the eternal. Seek the presence of life in everything. Morning, Brother Todd. Good to see you, my friend. We seek the eternal in everything. The good in everything. To simplify it, if we can't quite wrap ourselves around what eternal means, when we seek the good, when we seek love, when we seek those high divine qualities. The masters who have penetrated the mystery of life that so often eludes the intellect are those who with utmost simplicity have found direct approach to the supreme reality at the center of their own soul. It's a lot in there. I'm going to say that statement one more time. The masters, and best believe you can be one of those masters. Masters practice their craft. There might be innate talent there, but masters practice their craft. Are you interested in being a master? The master who's penetrated the mystery of life that so often eludes the intellect are those who with the utmost simplicity have found direct approach to the supreme reality at the center of their own soul. With utmost simplicity. This doesn't need to be a confusing game. The whole idea of spirituality and principle and how do I do it? And if I'm not feeling it, my intuition, et cetera, et cetera. Let's break it down. Fundamental simplicity. What's the simplest thing we could do right now? Close my eyes and take a deep breath. And in that is a moment of pause. And that is a moment of penetrating the mystery of life, taking all the complicated things away from it, the bills that need to be paid, the doctor appointment, the puzzle of homeschooling your kids, having time, possible lockdowns again, all those things that can be confusing, that can scare us, that can make us afraid too. There's simplicity in a breath to just reset. In a breath, just reset. Start all over again. There's a breath, there's a reset in the breath, and in the breath, we can move from great problem to great possibility. In the breath, we can go from scarcity and confusion to the way before me being made plain. Plain. Easy. Perfect. The Bhagavad Gita tells us that we must become the eternal if we wish to enter into the peace of the eternal. This has an identical meaning with the saying of Jesus that we must be perfect even as God in us is perfect. We are not talking about the human idea of perfect. Life is perfect in its imperfection. There's no such thing as perfect from that limited sense. There absolutely is an idea of perfect from that eternal sense, that all is well. That again, we are called to have eyes to see it. That's our internal work. Ears to hear it. That's our internal work. We all know two people can be looking at the exact same thing, having two completely different experiences based on their internal dialogue, based on their internal training, based on how they're training themselves to see what's happening in the world. Problem or possibility? Challenge or the opportunity to demonstrate something amazing. It's what you and I get to do. This calls for the recognition of the Spirit as an indwelling presence. Not life happening someplace other than where you are, but life happening as you. Yes, my brother David, God in us is perfect, and to the extent we recognize that, we are perfect. Yes. That's it. But we must be in relationship with that. This calls for the recognition of the Spirit as our life, as an indwelling presence, as well as an overshadowing power. This is the idea that omniscient, all-knowing, omnipotent, all-powerful, omnipresent, everywhere present. All of that happening at the same time. Omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. All-powerful, all-knowing, everywhere present at the same time. Which means there's as much life in you as there is me. There's as much life anywhere as there is anywhere. And we're called to lift our eyes to see it. Do the internal work necessary to train our thoughts. To train our thoughts to recognize it for ourselves, but also to be a point of inspiration for those that can use some inspiration. Not to proselytize and recognize that somebody's out of integrity, but just or out of alignment, but just to be a living reminder of what's possible. This is compassion. This is kindness. This is helping our sisters and brothers along. I am so grateful for the team that I have in place that when I forget, when I lose my right mind, that there's someone there to remind me. That when I've gone down the rabbit hole of scarcity, poverty, fear, that I've got people in my life that will remind me of what's really going on. Possibility. We are aware that there's a presence that indwells us that also overshadows everything. Life, the presence, intelligence, solutions. We could call it so many different names to fit the situation. It's the same thing. Universal principle. Perfect, never-ending substance. The road to self-discovery often calls for the clearing away of the underbrush of ignorance. I love this. The road to self-discovery often calls for the clearing away of the underbrush of ignorance, fear, superstition, and a sense of isolation that has made us feel that we were unworthy, unholy, and lost. One more time, that's a powerful statement, gang. The road to self-discovery calls for the clearing away of the underbrush of ignorance, fear, superstition, and a sense of isolation that has made us feel that we are unworthy, unholy, and lost. In the divine providence of good, salvation is unnecessary, but self-discovery is essential. We do not save that which was lost. We merely discover that which needs to be found. How many of us have lived in original sin or been introduced to that idea at some point along the way? My Catholic roots have introduced me to the idea of original sin. My journey of self-discovery has revealed the truth that I live in original blessing. My journey of self-discovery has helped me realize that the presence is within me always, that I've never been lost, that it's simply a process of discovering the self. That's what self, it's discovering the self. Discovering what's really going on. You become an investigative reporter of your own life, a lab technician of your own life. Through the process of experiments and investigating, we begin to discover self. And in the discovery of self, we begin to demonstrate that which we truly desire: more peace, a greater prosperity, more abundance, more joy, more love, more beautiful relationships that are powerful and empowering, that are life-giving, that serve us, that serve those that we're in relationship with, more giving, more compassion, more kindness, more vitality. That is discovering ourself. We do not save that which was lost, because we've never been lost. We can perceive being lost. We can think that we're lost. I told my daughter once, when she said, and I've shared this with you before, but we were someplace and she got scared. She said, "Daddy, I didn't know where you were." I said, "Babe, but I knew every step of the way where you were." And that made me think of my relationship with the Spirit. Sometimes I have no idea where the Spirit is. I can't feel it. I can't sense it. But I absolutely know it deep in my bones, because it's the only thing that could be true, is that the Spirit always knows where I am. That the Spirit always knows my heart. And because of that, because I knew where my daughter was, she is safe. Now, did she have an experience of it in that moment? No, and she was afraid. But I always know where she is, and I know that she's safe. And that's our life, gang. Sometimes we feel lost, sometimes we feel alone, confused. But that does not mean that we can get outside of the presence. It doesn't mean that we're all of a sudden living outside of life. Life is. And there's just simply a moment to pivot and course correct and come back to ourselves and realize, oh, I was never lost in the first place. We do not need to save that which was lost. We merely discover that which needs to be found. And he always ends with this personal affirmation, an I statement. Personal, powerful, present tense. I know, this is for each of us to say, I know that God, I know that life is within me. And I know that this divine Spirit is perfect. I enter into its peace and am secure in a sense of its protection. I enter into its peace and I am secure in a sense of its protection. Love will guide and intelligence will direct me. Love will guide and intelligence will direct me. The power of the infinite will sustain and uphold as well as direct me. The unerring judgment of divine intelligence directs my faith and makes perfect and plain the way before me. Say that affirmation, an affirmative statement of truth. And what's the truth about affirmations? We don't say them to make them true. We say them because they are true. I know that God within me, God is within me. And I know that this divine Spirit is perfect. I enter into its peace and I'm secure in a sense of its protection. Love will guide and intelligence will direct me. The power of the infinite will sustain and uphold as well as direct me. The unerring judgment of divine intelligence directs my faith and makes perfect and plain the way before me. Who among us isn't ready for life to be just a little bit easier? We can do that, or a lot easier. We can do that by mastering our thought, by working on become a master of our craft. The craft that we're seeking to become a master of is called your life. All of it. Eating habits, drinking habits, how we talk to each other, how we talk to ourselves, how we allow others to talk to us, how we demonstrate the experience of the kind of house we want to live in, what kind of money do we want to make, what kind of relationships do we want to cultivate. What kind of life do you really want to live? This is your craft. What you want to contribute to the world. What substantive contribution do you want to make to society? Locally and beyond. What contribution is the craft of your life going to make? What kind of parent do I want to be? What kind of influence do I want to be on my 7-year-old? What kind of influence do I want to be on my 70-year-old mom? Sorry, Mom, I just outed you. I don't even know if that's your accurate age, but I love you. Tell you what, though, for whatever age she is, she's in the best shape of that age of anyone I know. So there, good save, Charles, good save. How do you want to master the craft of your life? It's a craft. Think of it as an adventure to keep getting better and better, more loving, more expressive, more joyful, more soft, softening those hard edges, more giving, more compassionate, more abundant and prosperous. You know, it's interesting when I'm thinking about just the money bit for a second. Eric Butterworth says, this is a crazy statement too. It's a powerful statement though. He says in his book, Spiritual Economics, he says, it is a sin to be poor. It's a sin to be poor. And what we know about sin, and he talks about it in the book, is that sin is simply to miss the mark, to make a mistake. Big whoop. But the mistake is poverty consciousness, that there's not enough. The mistake is that there's no one out there that can really love you, that there's no one out there that can really understand you. The mistake is that there's no one out there for you to really love, to be adventurous with. The mistake is that this chronic health issue has to be there chronically. The mistake is thinking that we can't heal a broken heart. The mistake is thinking we can't heal a health condition. The mistake is a constant conversation within you of fear to be creative. Someone's going to laugh at you or put you down. That's the sin. It's a sin to be poor. It's a sin to live in poverty consciousness, separation consciousness, isolation consciousness. So we're called to discover ourselves, to understand that there is an infinite substance and presence from which we come, in which we live, and that is within us as our life. And we are continued to discover that self every day of our life as we work on mastering our craft, the craft of being alive as a human being right now in this day and age. And to innovate, and to feel blessed, and to know it, and to claim it, and to be it. And that is Life on Love for this Friday, December 4th, as we as we wrap up 2020, you know, I know people talk about 2020 being one of the worst years ever, and we want to get it over with, et cetera, et cetera. 2021 isn't going to be any different unless we do different things. All right. Just something isn't going to magically happen in 3-4 weeks unless we discover more of ourselves, unless we continue to think high ideas and to innovate. Let's be about the work of discovering ourselves. We continue to be so very grateful for all of the ways that you financially contribute to the center. I'd like to remind you that sharing your financial substance for a service is the same as sharing your financial substance for a good. Going to the store, a loaf of bread, you wouldn't expect to walk out with a loaf of bread without paying your $4.99 or whatever the bread is. Wherever you're getting your spiritual food and nourishment, here, wherever it might be, I encourage you to circulate there. Circulate financial good to help sustain. You can text your gift to us. You see a phone number on the phone on the screen there, 760-292-2233. You can go to the website, cslpalmdesert.org. You can call in and donate over the phone, 760-346-4649. Pony Express it, drop it by the office. We accept our good as we continue to give our good. We're so grateful for all of you to continuing to support this center as we move through these very, very interesting times. Support your center. We depend on you. We depend on each other. This is our center, and we are going to keep churning out as much good material as we can harness, and we can harness a lot, baby. And we're going to keep offering it to you because we know we're in this together. We are doing this together as a community. So use the principles. If you're feeling financially challenged, use the principles to change your condition. Discover a greater self within your financial magnificence. And if you're swimming in abundance, please consider sharing generously with this center. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. Dr. Joe appreciates you. The staff here, everybody. We're so grateful to be a family and a community and a growing community. We have a vision of a global community, and we can do it right now. Appreciate you, David. Much love to everybody that tuned in. Grateful for you. Tell somebody about Life on Love. Invite a friend to next Friday. Tell somebody about it as we continue to do this work. Let's grow a big fat Friday morning community. Life on Love. Friday mornings. Let's grow this puppy. Much peace, much love. Make today the best day ever. Have a great weekend.